Hello everybody, Crazy Up Girl / Kawaii Kitties here, always having an identity crisis. Today, I am talking about Happiness Charge Precure. So, Happiness Charge Precure is a season that many people hate. I'm not really on that side. I like Happiness Charge Precure, but then I'm not gonna lie, this show can be a disaster. There's no denying the show being a disaster. It's just a plot mess. The moment a plot line starts, they'll start building it up, but then last moment they'll straight up drop it. They'll be like, oh, no point in that anymore. We're doing something else. And it's what is happening? But then there's it's just the way I would describe Happiness Charge Precure would be, this is the Precure season that has a bunch of great ideas. That could be used to create a great plot, but then it just fails miserably at it. I don't know, I wouldn't deem it the worst season of Precure. I can't even pick a worst season, really. I'm gonna be honest, but it's not the best season, but it's not I don't know, Happiness Charge Precure is just a Precure season that probably should have had more I don't know, it just needs help. The whole season just needs help. Yeah, so I'm gonna talk about the characters and stuff and more on my opinion about Happiness Charge Precure and how questionable it was as a series. I also want to mention that Happiness Charge is kind of a return to the basic season compared to Doki Doki, where every single episode was super plot driven, but then at the same time it tries to be like Doki Doki and be super plot driven at the same time. I mean, you can combine this. It's just the way Toei does it just goes wrong. It just doesn't go right. So, okay. For real. I'm actually gonna start talking about, the video. I mean, not the characters. The characters. And my thoughts on the characters, okay? Okay, so, our main character of Happiness Charge Precure is Aino Megami. I'd much rather she not be the main character. I wouldn't really give her that spot if I'm being completely honest, but just in the realms of Toei, and the whole thing of Precure being a magical girl show, our technical main character is Aino Megami, who is cured lovely. She's very dry. She's like bread compared to everybody else in the show. I mean, there's other characters that have no personality, if I'm gonna be completely honest. But I don't know, I think she's my least favorite character of this show. Not saying that she's a bad person. I mean, she can't be a bad person, I'm not gonna lie. She has done some things where she just never learned a lesson. But she's excitable. She kind of takes a little bit of Cure Heart or Mina Ida's personality and Doki Doki Precure, who is the main character of that series, because Megumi kind of takes more of a position where she tries to help people kind of at the start of Happiness Charge Precure. You'll notice that that's the first thing she kind of does, but she's an okay character, I guess. She has a childhood best friend who doesn't have a crush on her at first. So basically the whole thing is that she admires Precures because Precures and Happiness Charge Precure are more of an international thing where there's tons of cures fighting all around the world in stereotype outfits. But it's kind of interesting how they do that, because at the time there weren't really any seasons that had pretty cures just all fighting around the world, unless they're ultimate pretty cures or stuff like that, or movie cures, I guess, stuff like that. But there's never any international cures from what I can take note of right now. yeah, unless you count All Stars, like, yeah. So that was kind of interesting. They don't release it, but yeah. But she gets introduced by Blue. This god guy. I'll explain him later. We're still on Megumi's character, and the other girl, Hime. That's another character I'm gonna explain next. There's a lot of other characters, but like, she basically gets partnered up with Hime. Yeah, she's a basic Precure. She has childhood friend who used to not really not to have crush on her, but like now her childhood friend has like a crush on her because the plot calls for it. That's kind of all I can say really about her. She isn't very interesting. Yeah, I'm gonna talk about a character I really like. The next character I'm talking about is my favorite character, and her name is Hime, or Cure Princess. Anyways, that's literally the same thing, other than the Cure part added. A lot of people hate this character, just like how a lot of people hate Megumi, but the difference is that I like Hime. Okay, so we have some real plot going through with this character. So, Hime is a princess of another kingdom, and her parents got defeated by the people, the main villains. I'm going to talk about them later, just like I said I was going to talk about a lot of other characters later. Anyways, Hime was the one that opened this thing called the Box of Axia. And it basically let the villains unleash, and then like she had a whole crisis arc where she was like, oh shoot, if my friends find out about this, they're gonna hate me. But then they don't really react to it, which is like very happiness charged Precure. Makes a lot of sense, but it affects one character who is a mid-season. And I'll talk about her in like a few minutes, but I like her a lot too. Anyways, Hime ends up getting like really distraught by this, and that's why she's kind of a brat. And she's basically running away from opening the Box of Axia. Hime, I'm pretty sure I said she was a princess. I think I did. Anyways, Hime is very sweet, and she actually has a reason for being a brat. Unpopular opinion, she's not annoying. Like Cure Marine. I think Cure Marine is, I guess she can be funny, but like Cure Marine got on my nerves. But like, she's better than Cure Marine because she actually has a better reason to be a brat compared to Cure Marine. As well, I really think Hime should have been the main character, and another person named Asian Zone, he's a YouTuber, you should go subscribe to him, also agrees with this sentiment, because Hime actually does more of the main character stuff than Megumi ever would. She gets a lot of screen time, and she's gonna get a lot of screen time. She's a main character, but like, she gets kind of like main character treatment a lot. Even in some of the attacks, she kind of gets like main character treatment. Yeah, she really should have been the main character. There's no reason why Megumi should have been a main character. I also forgot to mention that the way Hime and Megumi teamed up was that Hime basically was shunned by this other Precure that is a mid-season that I talked about earlier, that I'm going to talk about. Anyways, because of the stuff she did that I mentioned, the whole Axia box. Anyways, the two end up working together and defeat a villain because Hime was so incompetent and so bad at her job at the time. Our third main character, also mid-season, is Omori Yuko. So Yuko is a very nice person. She gives kindness, but that's very normal as a character trait. But the whole thing is that Yuko's personality is that she likes rice. I'm not making this up. Like, literally, the only the most eventful thing that happened in her life, in my opinion, is that she had a memorable dog, which is a good thing, that taught her kindness and we thought it was a person. But yeah, anyways, Yuko joined the team essentially like right after the time Megumi and Hime ended up teaming up originally. She was set as an international cure because she would go help out the other cures in other nations. And basically she kind of kept her whole thing as a mystery until like episode 11. She's kind of an interesting mid-season because she kind of goes along the coattails of Milky Rose, where Milky Rose joined like really early in the season, since Milky Rose is basically like the first mid-season cure. Yeah, so she joins really early on, and she's okay as a character, I guess. I would put her above Megumi, because at least she has somewhat of a personality compared to Megumi, but like, she's still questionable to say the least when it comes to personality. Okay, so the last character of Happiness Charge is Hikawa Iona. So, Iona is a sister, has an older sister that was originally a cure, but she's basically mad at Hime for causing the whole situation where they have to fight all of these evil villains and stuff. And she basically starts mess with Hime, and the whole thing, the way it goes down is really interesting. Like, all of this leads to multiple fights and loads of things. Yeah, so Iona is basically a responsible purple cure, which is very in line with her character look. Like her looks, because Pretty Cure usually goes off of looks when it comes to personality. And, I mean, yeah, you should, but like, colors. Anyways, she's responsible. She is in karate. At least I'm pretty sure she's in karate. She is also Cure Fortune. I really like her. She's my second favorite character since she's the second plot-driven character. The drama she causes is really interesting, and the way like she ends up getting her cure powers back is really interesting. Or I guess not that interesting. It was okay now that I remember it. Anyways, Iona brings a whole large support on this team. She's really strong, really powerful, and a lot of times Iona and Megumi, even though Megumi isn't that interesting, they have some really cool fight combos. I really like how they team them up sometimes, because like whenever they team up, it looks really cool because there's a lot of opposite sides going on, a lot of competition that this character brings in the story. And really, I'm really emphasizing it with Hime because that whole Hime plot is really interesting. That kind of makes some of the show worth watching, is Hime and Iona's plot. A lot of people call her Discount Cure Moonlight from Heartcatch Pretty Cure. I can't really blame you. I have to agree, all of these characters, except for Hime, like, Hime's cause are subpar to their older counterparts. On to side characters. So we have Blue. He is the god of the world, I guess. Yeah. God basically gave everybody their Pretty Cure powers from every single generation, from every single area of the world. He is a questionable character to say the least. A lot of people deem him as like a really annoying character who causes a lot of conflict. Honestly, I didn't really notice too much while I was watching Happiness Charge Pretty Cure until Aizen pointed out. I'm like, huh, I guess you are right. Sometimes I just like zone out when it comes to stuff and I'll stop caring. Anyways, he kind of causes the whole conflict with this one girl, the one main villain girl who is not really the main villain. Spoiler, I guess, for later on. He basically just tells her off without anything else. There's nothing wrong with having your feelings for your feelings, but like the way he does it, like, it's just bad. Like, it's just really bad. And then he causes all this downfall and all. He's basically the cause of everything bad happening to this world. Yes. And I guess he has all these little girls fighting to, like, solve his cause. You can understand why people don't like him. Anyways, yeah. He also has this weird love triangle with Megumi and Megumi's childhood friend. I'll explain the childhood friend, like, really close by now. Anyways, it's a whole thing. Obviously, he's not trying to intentionally participate in it, except he kind of does questionable stuff. Question mark. Anyways, he's a character that probably should not exist. He's there and questionable as usual. Now, we're going on to the childhood friend I was talking about. Okay, so the childhood friend I've been talking about throughout this whole video is Sagara Seiji. So Seiji, as I mentioned, is Megumi's childhood friend, and he's a whole mood. So basically, he finds out about Megumi being a cure early on, and yeah, that's a whole thing. But then he starts developing a crush on Megumi, the most driest, boringest, crustiest character of the plot. Literally, why would you like her out of every single person in this show? There's also a point where Hime likes him for some reason. He's also in karate with Iona. That's a thing. He can do some form of self-defense. He was like a baddie once from what I remembered. Anyways, he's reliable. He's really reliable. He's a good person. He looks like an average Pokemon main character. I'm joking. Anyways, I'm being serious. He looks like an average main character-ish character. He looks okay, I guess. He does become a villain at some point, like at the end of the story, kind of, because he gets hypnotized and stuff from what I can remember. He's an okay character. I like Seiji, but like not the whole love triangle, because he gets jealous of Blue. Everything is kind of questionable. Anyways, that's Seiji. He's an okay character. He isn't a bad person. He's fine. He's Gucci. We also have fairies from Happiness Charge Precure. We have Ribbon, who is Princess's or Hime's fairy. She's responsible, I guess, from what I remember. Hime, I also forgot to mention, grew up after a while. She started not being as bratty. Not because of Ribbon, even though Ribbon kind of was like, hey, stop being a brat. Ribbon didn't really contribute that much. Then we have Glosson, who I feel like is even more or less productive than Ribbon. Like, I feel like Glosson is just there and just exists. I think Glosson is a bit sassy. She is Iona's fairy. She's fine. That's all I can say. Because not memorable. Once again, not memorable. Now we can get into the tea of the show. We have the Phantom Empire. And we're going to start off with the villain lackeys. Okay, so our first villain is Nabla Kelder. That's what I'm reading. I can't remember his name. And he works in the Phantom Empire, obviously. He is lazy, and that's all I would really say about his personality. He returns to regular human life, and that's along with like the rest of the basic villains. Our next villain is Hoshiwa, and she's kind of like a candy-ish villain. I kind of like her aesthetic. Cure Honey is her rival. She hates friendship, which is pretty basic. She goes back to life too and becomes a kindergarten teacher. Our next villain is Hareski. He's kind of like the main person of the trio of these villains. And He is the third general of the Phantom Empire. He's like a military-ish person. He's bossy, and at first he's the most powerful villain out of these two. But then, if I'm being completely honest, he ends up getting like thrown back because he realized that he's not that strong anyways. And in the end, he goes back to his old job. Now we're getting into the tea-spilling villains that actually matter to the story. So, we have Phantom, or Fan. Anyways, he is the 4th general, and he named himself the Precure Hunter, and he transforms into a red Precure that looks really similar to Megami. You should see the fight animations, like, woo-wee. Yeah, and then Yuko kind of gets this bond with him or whatever, because she helps him out even though he gets harmed by the whole fighting thing. It's a whole tea spill. But then after everything that happens in the plot, you find out that he's a fairy. So yeah, he's an interesting character that like builds to the plot. He spills the tea. His name was also Cure Unlovely, just so you know. The tip top of our empire is Cure Mirage, and Cure Mirage is the ruler of the Phantom Empire, as you can tell by her name. But she was once in love with Blue. Like I mentioned, Blue messed up, basically threw their relationship to the trash because he's God. But then it was like a whole thing because he messed up big time and turned her evil because she was originally a Cure. Her name was Cure Mirage, and she goes back to Cure Mirage in the end and can be regular human too. Yes. But there's an awesome battle with Cure Mirage and Megami. Megami's like still the least interesting character, but can we talk about how good that fight is and the whole thing? Yeah. I like her battles, I like her outfit. She looks really cool as a character, but do not be lied to. This is not the main villain. Like, I'm just gonna say it right now. She is not the main villain. Now I'm gonna talk about some extra characters before we get to the big bad. Okay, so we have Cure Tender, and she's Yona's older sister that I wanted to mention. Anyways, Cure Tender was a very good pretty cure, also a purple cure like Yona, and she lost her powers because of the generals or whatever, along with a ton of other pretty cures, which is why the whole pretty cure thing is going through a crisis. She comes back and she's an absolute baddie. Yeah. So I just kind of wanted to intersect her into this part because she doesn't really fit in any other category. I mean, I guess I could have put her before the first villains maybe, but like she's kind of unique in this category, and I didn't want to put her like in the middle with like Seiji and Blue. So here she is. Okay, so our big bad is actually Red. Red is pretty cool, I guess. His name is also Deep Mirror. He's like the voice in Cure Mirage's whole head thing because he's the true villain, y'all. And this was a shock. I mean, not really a shock because like we knew something else was gonna happen, but this kind of just like didn't wrap the show in a bow. Yeah, it came with some really cool action, but then it also brought more confusion to the show and the amount of drop plots because just from Cure Mirage being defeated, we lost the whole point of the cards because they're gonna Hime was gonna ask to revive her cards that she already used half of, sacrificing for Yona to become a cure again. But like still, like she could have the whole thing we were gonna do with those cards was save Hime's parents. One of the biggest plot things that just got control Z'd. No longer mattered. No point. Hime's parents were there. But we have Red. And Red is probably equally a brat. Because, from what I remember, Red is basically jealous of Blue. his younger brother, of course, they're colored names, because Blue's planet, Earth, prospered, but then Red's planet failed. So it causes him to become a villain and be all dark and basically try to destroy Earth and Blue. He's a jerk too, just like his brother. And there are some cool battles out of this. Can I talk about how many cool fights came out of this and how much animation budget went into this? Other than Yui getting, not Yui, my bad, I'm thinking about Delicious Party, Precure. But other than Megumi getting all the stuff and attention and getting a whole nother upgrade all to herself with, like, let's be honest, a really good animated battle. The action was cool and stuff, but like, this was not what we needed. Like, I don't know. Like, it just really confused the plot. The show should have ended 10 episodes before this, or they should have expanded on the whole Mirage thing. But I don't know, this show, like, the adding this to the end just made the show even more of a mess than it was. Yeah. So, Happiness Charge Precure ended on a questionable note with a bunch of dropped plot lines, and with the whole show ending as a mess. Yeah, and this season was supposed to be a 10th anniversary Precure season. A lot of people noticed how similar it was to Heart Catch Precure, especially with the color scheme and everything and the personalities. A lot of that was like noticed. People call it the Happiness Charge clone, essentially. Can't blame them. The fairies kind of, sort of, I guess they look similar. I can't really remember. Oh yeah, they create the cards or whatever. Just like how Happiness Charge Precure's fairies created those stones that they pooped out. We don't talk about that. I love it. Anyways, this season had its good points. It had its low points. This season needed some extra crafting, needed some work. This season is just mid, I guess. I don't know. I wouldn't call it mid. Like, it's not the worst, but it's like not the best for sure. There were too many, there were like way too many falls for this season. Like, this season is just chaos. I've been talking about how this season is just chaos for like a minute. Basically, I'm just saying like the same thing over and over again. Now let's talk about the drawing. Okay, so this drawing came out super pretty. The background was inspired from the first ending of Happiness Charge Precure Memories. I really liked how the background came out, other than like the few rocks in the front that I kind of forgot to blend in properly. The only thing I really messed up in the drawing too much was like some of the body proportions, I guess, and like near Megumi's foot there's like some weird blue marking from the lighting that I thought I got rid of, but I never did. Other than that, the lighting in this drawing is beautiful. I love the effects. It really captures the Happiness Charge Memories song. I really like that song a lot. It's really pretty. I'm glad this drawing exists. It looks good in my opinion, which is something I'm happy about. Anyways, thank you so much for watching this video if you made it to this point. If you want to subscribe, I want to make more of this content and I'm still working on my comic. I think you're gonna like it. My commissions are currently open. Please DM me on my Instagram, kawaiikitties_art, or my Twitter, kawaiikitties, or my DeviantArt. I think it's named Crazy Derp Girl or Kawaii Kitties. It's either one of those. Check out my Reddit account, Crazy Derp Girl. I post a lot on my, not on my, but I'm on my Reddit account on the Precure Reddit. Yeah, I just like Precure a lot. I have an obsession don't mind me. I think I'm gonna make a Tokyo Mew Mew review. Yeah. So I'll see you next time. Bye bye.